this is kind of the right timing because you just did the artwork for our History of the Bay Day event.
Yeah, no, it's been fun to do that, man. Get to get a little bit of the Bay vibe going again.
For anyone interested in grabbing the poster, make sure you come to the event November 9th. Well, there's an infamous story we got to get to. The TMF TWS battle. At one point, you guys were like cool with Crayone, like before all this started.
You know, man, it's funny, man. So I'll backtrack to an earlier time, right? So my first issue ever, or first maybe introduction of Crayone is I had heard of him. He had wrote, like, I think he wrote Space Ghost. This is like early, like, maybe like, 84. And I know that he had a lot of pieces in Galileo High School. And I remember going down there and was like, okay, this dude can paint. And remember I had done a piece on the piece I was talking about on the side of the Emporium building off Market Street. And I went back to go take pictures a couple days later. And it had a big tag over it that said Rigel. And like colored in my character's teeth gold. And I was just like almost like, fuck this dude. I think that already established, like, this, like, just like he's going to be my fucking arch nemesis, But, and now, I mean, Rigel's part of the story, part of my story, part of the Bay Area story. I have no animosity at all. It's almost funny to think of how those times were. But I also, I had a different philosophy on graffiti. And I know he was trying to do things and do these styles that, like, were very complex and just shapes. And I just never appreciated any of it. It was more of I think our beef really started with our views and criticisms of what we thought they did. And we just didn't respect it at that time. We're just like, this is like, not like, yeah, that's cool. You could draw a bunch of robots and all these things really good, but your styles are whack. We don't like them. So it'd be kind of like not giving it its regard or any respect for it. And then that led to, like, just kind of maybe, painting too close to their shit, nicking their shit. And it's funny, man, because when people talk about it as a battle, I don't know if I ever thought of it that way. I almost thought, like, it's like, that doesn't even make sense to me. The idea that, like, you're tit for tat, like, who's the judge of what somebody does, You paint something, they paint something. It wasn't like we're trying to, like, go for this, like, tit for tat thing. I think they were thinking that way. We were just kind of, we don't care. We don't give a shit about what you're doing. We'll just diss your shit. And it started to be that kind of thing. I remember having a mindset then, like, I don't really, I don't even care if I don't paint for a while. I'll just fucking do drops and destroy all this shit just cause. It's almost like the maliciousness of, like, not caring. So, that was, a phase, and that's part of the story. But I don't know if it was ever like we were kind of like, oh, we got to go do our best because we're battling these guys. I don't know that they might have thought that way, but I don't think we ever really thought of, like, we got to put our best foot forward because this is going to be judged by the people. The streets are going to talk about this. It was just not part of our way of thinking about it,
He told me that he, like, put, I don't know if this is the same incident you're talking about, that he put bullet holes on your piece, and that's kind of what started it.
He might have done that too. But I don't remember that one. And the trick being told, man, I remember talking so much shit to that dude. And, like, he's a lot bigger than me, and I'm just like the skinny little kid talking shit. And the reality is, he would have probably fucking cleaned my clock back then. I would have probably got beat the fuck up by Rigel. But I just had this, like, fuck that dude, and I don't care. And, like, I'm sure more than anything, it's just like, I fucking hate this kid because he talks so much fucking shit to me and fucking, just dissing my shit and just being a fucking thorn in his side, because even at that point, I mean, I think Rigel might have a couple years on me, 2-3 years older than me. So if I'm 14 and he's 17 or whatever, 15 and he's 18, it's still this younger fucking kid is, pushing my buttons really good.
I mean, the sense I get, one, is like the reason we still talk about it all these years later is because the style clash is very interesting, but also like the skills, like you guys are, arguably some of the best doing it at that time. So that's kind of like a clash of titans right there. But when I look back on it from what I've seen, it's definitely a lot of like TWS, like we're gonna do big ass productions, and then like TMF, like we're just gonna write all over your shit type of stuff.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's like I know a lot of people then can't, sometimes if you have a certain perspective of things, you can't understand why. You think like, oh, they must be jealous of what they did, or they, and it's more came from a place of like, we don't care. Like at that point, it's fucked up to say now that we thought that way. I mean, I wouldn't be this way with him now, but I think that we weren't into what they were doing. Like you'd have to like what someone else is doing to be jealous of it. And we just didn't like it. So it was kind of like we didn't regard it as something that we cared about because it wasn't playing on the same, I don't want to say level playing field, but playing in the same room as what we were doing. Not that I'm even saying we were better. We were different, and we liked what we did, and we liked what other people who liked that traditional style of graffiti did. It's like for us, it's like the people at that time that I was just like, I liked, what, like, Gigs and Rackus, and at the time, Gigs was writing Heist and what they were doing. Like when I saw their shit, I was just like, fuck, dude, they're fucking good. It was like I had my eyes on other people that I felt had great styles.
Was there a point where did you guys like formally like squash it, or did it just kind of like fade out?
I think it just fizzled out, and then through the years, I mean, I've talked to Crayone, and probably even I know there's times where he was early on working with Alex Aquino, and I'd see him, and it was just like, oh, what's up? We cool? It's like, oh, cool. I mean, that's I think there's, again, going back to graffiti being a young kids thing. That's shit that young kids do. If I'm putting that shit on if I'm carrying on something that started when I was 13, 14 years old, and I'm still beefing about it in my 20s, that's kind of that's some weirdo shit. Like you gotta at some point let it go.
Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay. Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay.